Go ahead.
Just brief. Say thank you for passing the resolution 17521 that established the capital H. 2102 that we're going to be using for the revitalization plan for Emerson Park. We're going to use that money obviously as seed money going forward, to seed grants, and to work with some of our partner organizations to start doing some of the work of the park. So we appreciate that support. We've closed out the project out of the park for the sluiceway. You will see some fencing around that. We're actually trying to a permanent fix to we're working with Cornell Cooperative Extension to produce a couple of days of what is really the 4-H shows. It's not the county fair this year, but due to the days of the 4-H show, that's on July 29th and 30th. And we still are obviously short-staffed like everybody else is, and there aren't any lifeguard applications coming in either, so the beaches are not open. And our new assistant park maintenance supervisor started on 6/28. Her name is Minette Becker, and she's been busy taking over some of the clerical work, and then also bringing us up to speed, helping me out with some of the website work, some of our purchasing operations, and taking a few of those things off of Don, who's been there for quite a while, doing both buildings and grounds and the parks.
Wow.
The rest of the notes are there, and if there are any questions on it for the museum, the Sterling Nature Center, I'm happy to take questions on those.
Are there any questions? You want to jump to your resolutions?
You can, yep. So our resolutions for parks are PW3 and PW4. PW3 is a
Are you
resolution
listening to this meeting?
on Independence Day.
You should be listening to. So he, what's his name, asshole, just said.
So PW3 delineates that the county budget has $4,500 in it for the fireworks, $3,000 for professional services, $1,850 for promotion for the event. The Emerson Foundation actually is funding the symphony, so it will be the same format as we have had in the past. So the suggestion that to me that was given was to enter a treasurer directed transfer up to $30,000 from the general fund to fund the expenses from the event. Those additional expenses not listed above would be for the balance of the fireworks, which is $12,500. And then we're still working with some of our emergency management partners to see if there will be any charges for nursing staff to be on site for that event. There hasn't been in the past, but there's a shortage of staff this year, so there was concern that we may have to hire some nursing staff to run the field hospital there. The most recent conversation said that our fire departments have said that they can actually handle what's there, handle the event that's there, because there aren't a lot of competing events on that date, which is August 8th. So if that comes to fruition, the only extenuating charge that I know of is $12,500 to pay for the remaining portion of the fireworks for this year. That's the only known cost at this time. I would suggest that it would probably be good to exceed that number in case we do have to pay for emergency services. But obviously, any balance that's there wouldn't be expended unless it was needed for emergency service coverage at that time.
Want to make a motion on it and discuss it?
Yes.
There's a second on PW3.
Okay. Doug, so at what point in time will EMO come to us with a number of projected costs that may occur or may not occur? Is this just gonna be floated till the fireworks?
No, we
Because
just
the
haven't,
ambulance discussion on the last meeting.
it seems like the ambulance coverage is fine for that date right now. As far as we have been told, we're securing a contract with AMR for the date, but they have committed the resources to it. The question that we have is, do we have to set up a field hospital for the event? We have set up a field hospital for the Great Race, for example. But we traditionally have basically set up a larger first aid station for this event. It's a kind of a question for our permit, which was submitted last week. Even if we had to have a field hospital, I've been told we would be able to staff it with resources from our current emergency management and for our partners, basically from our partner volunteer fire departments. But since we haven't had a follow-up with the actual permit being approved, I just can't tell you for sure we're okay doing that.
You expect to hear something?
They've received electronic copies of our permit at the state office, and we've also sent a hard copy to them too, because they need live signatures, but we've had some correspondence back from them with general questions on it so far, so I know that they're reviewing it like yesterday and today.
Doug, I'm really excited to see the fireworks happening, and I will definitely be going. I just was wondering, is there anything happening during the day that day at the park? I heard the Great Race is not happening this year. And I know there's been talk about maybe showcasing some of the plans for the park that are coming up, some of the designs, if people are gonna be there. I don't know if there have been any consideration for daytime activities, music, food trucks, things like that.
There haven't been any subsequent conversation on booking those in at this point. As far as the pavilion is concerned, they start setting up at like noon in that, so they're there doing a lot of their sound light setup for the symphony as early as 12 o'clock, which basically blocks the pavilion from then until 8 o'clock, which is their start time. It doesn't preclude us from doing something else within the park, but we really haven't had the opportunity to program more stuff around there. Manette came on last week, so we're still training in the other staff person that we have in the park. And between that and not having a lot of staff, they will really focus on making stuff.
Anybody else in PW3? No, all in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed?
PW4 is pretty straightforward. There's a refrigeration unit in the Emerson Park Pavilion that has failed. The cost of repairing it comes close to the cost of replacing it. It's 11 years old. It's been suggested by our service partners that it would really not be a great investment to actually try to repair it and just replace it at this point. So we gave out the spec to a couple of vendors to try to replace it with something similar. And so the request is to take funds from the contingency account or from contingent account and to put into park improvements to replace that. Just a reminder, we do own all of the equipment in the building. So the vendor does lease the space from us, but all the equipment is our responsibility for replacement. They pay for repairs up to $500. Anything over and above that, the county has to pay for. So at this time, the best plan of action after looking at it and talking to our vendors would be just to replace this unit.
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second by Hans. Mr. Vitale?
Yeah, don't we have a reserve account that the tenant pays into to replace the equipment when you have to?
We do.
There's no money in that reserve account?
There is money in the reserve account. Actually, when we had this conversation, it was suggested that this would be a better place to actually take the funds from. So that would be from our budget director.
In reserve account there for equipment. That's used by the tenant.
It is, in the past, we've used the contingent account for large repairs to the capital infrastructure of the building, I think might be the difference with this being a disposable item, if you will, or individual item. We used the reserve account last year, for example, to repair the porch out there. We did about the $25,000 porch roof repair. So
I recall, though, the reserve account is for equipment.
Yep.
I'll have to vote against it, because I think it should come from the equipment.
Lynn and Chris both provided the recommendation to come from the committee.
That's fine.
Hans, did you have something? Sorry, question. Anybody else on PW four? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see her.
Yep.
I don't see her. Mr. Dockett, are you online
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
now?
Okay, yeah, I couldn't hear you guys earlier. I don't know what was going on there. I felt like I was up in Sterling for a minute.
I know how that feels.
I know you do. Well, you have my report. The only thing I wanted to bring up, I have done some reviewing of some of our roofs. The roof in the Hardburg building is in need of pretty much immediate repair or replacement. I'm looking at options for that right now. The only other thing I was going to point out, just mention, like the park, we're having difficulty hiring laborers. We only had one person that we were able to hire, and that person leaves in August. So we're having difficulty with getting the work done that the inmate work crew used to do, and we are not having the luxury of hiring laborers like we were hoping to alleviate that problem. One thing that may help us a little bit is some of the DSS people might be coming back to help us with some of the work that they have to do, and if that may relieve it a little bit. Other than that, if you have any questions on my report, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Gary? I don't see any, Gary. You can jump into your resolutions.
Okay, PW1, authorizes the chair of the Cayuga County Legislature to sign a one-year extension to the agreement with American Commercial Cleaning for the cleaning of the two county buildings, the county office building and the mental health building.
Motion,
Move it.
Second.
any discussion on PW one? Not all, in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. PW two, Gary.
PW2 is authorizing the chair of the Cayuga County Legislature to sign a one-year extension to the agreement with GDI for the cleaning of two county buildings, the Hardenberg building and the old jail.
The motion,
Second.
any discussion? Not all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
All right, highway. I'll look around the room first, not seeing Mr. Soper here. Is he online?
Yes, I'm on, Tucker. Can you hear me?
We got your report.
Yes. Only thing I'd like to add is I'm in the same boat Gary is as far as the only thing I didn't have in there that I should have put in there was that our mowing has taken us a little bit longer because we weren't able to hire any temporaries or seasonals. I had 2 applicants, hired them both. They're helping out, but 2 out of 10 really slowed us up on the mowing. Now we got every mower's out mowing right now, but you know, that's why we were a little bit slower getting that started.
Seems to be a problem everywhere. Trying
Well,
to
I Gary and I have talked a little bit offline, and I think maybe we need to revisit the salary as well. $13 an hour isn't really gonna cut it anymore to get somebody to come in and work when they can go stand at Dunkin' Donuts for $14-15 an hour. So
Yep, and that's air conditioned.
correct. You know, other than that, if you guys got any questions.
Any questions for highway? We'll move on to your resolution.
The only resolution I had was PW5. It's authorized to declare the highway equipment surplus equipment, so we can send it to auction. And the list is there.
Sure you don't want to keep the 1969 loader?
No, I think some of this we kept for posterity reasons.
All right, is there a motion for PW5? Move it. Hansel second. Any discussion? Not all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
All right, weights and measures. Got Larry's report. He's got one resolution, which is authorizing to advertise and recommend a director of weights and measures. Motion on PW6.
Mark second. I'll second.
Any discussion on PW6? No discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, 6 is carried. PL2, is that just here for us to look at? We don't have to pass that one, right? For our FYI, do you want to speak to it at all here?
Is that the one I brought in? Oh, that's Emerson Park.
Emerson Park,
That's the
CFA grant.
This is, yeah, I guess it is a dual resolution. So this is a resolution to submit a grant application to EPA grant under the 2021 CFA grants, which are due July 30th. There's no new money from the county. The state allows you to look back at money you've already invested in the last 3 years and characterize that as part of your project and the match. So we're trying to leverage money that we've already spent, $212,000 from the Emerson Foundation for programming and $63,000 from the legislature for the most recent design concepts and schematics and cost estimates. And we're trying to leverage that money that we've already spent to secure about $430,000 for detailed architectural designs and plans and bid documents for playground and for the concession stand and restaurants. So hopefully we can write a competitive application, not put any new money into the kitty, leverage money we've already spent and secure money from the state to advance the project further.
All right. Brittany, both committees are passing this? Okay. I'll ask for a motion. Move it. Second. Okay. Discussion.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with $6.2 million for playground. This is crazy as far as I'm concerned.
I just want to clarify, Hans, that the playground is not $6.2 million. That $6.2 million was the project estimate for the playground, the new concession stand, the new bathrooms, the new roadway that goes across the front. It wasn't a $6.2 million playground. I'm sure you probably were not happy with a $2 million playground either. But I just wanted to kind of just correct for everybody that it's not a 6.2. That number got floated out during the presentation because they had like some fine print in the graphic, and that said it includes this, and this, but everybody just saw the heading and it said playground. So understandable miscommunication there maybe on the presentation's part.
This is $4 million happier.
It was presented as phase one, I believe.
Yeah, possible phase one, but
And that was a major part of it was the playground.
Yeah, the playground is probably, Doug, what do you figure about two?
About $2 million, yeah.
You know, for the spray park and all the equipment and all of the, you know, the other elements, the pavilions and everything else.
Same the grandiose part, the destination part also bothers me. Playground for our people, I think that's what we should be focusing on, not trying to go into business, entertain people from Buffalo or wherever.
Anybody else on this resolution?
I guess, Steve, can you just give us a timeline on this from the final design stages to bidding and construction?
On this particular aspect,
Yeah,
well, this proposal is to try to use existing money we've already spent to get new state money to do the architectural designs. That'll take us right up through design and bidding. Once you get up to design and bidding, you can't go out and bid it until you have more money. So we believe that architectural design process, if the CFA grant goes in July, it would be announced in September or October, November, somewhere around that. And then the grant contract would probably come back at some point. 2022 in the spring. And then maybe the designs would be done by the end of 2022.
okay, so there's still like a 6 to 9 month design phase coming up before we break ground on any.
Well, the actual architecture and design, engineering and stuff like that probably wouldn't take 6 to 9 months. It's just that if you get the grant, you don't get the contract until
Right.
many months later, which is the challenge with these CFA grant applications.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, when they had the presentation down at the park, I thought they said that we could, phase one was the playground and all the things that come with it. But I thought they said that we could, move those around. We could have any one of the 4 major phases first versus, the playground. I have spoke to a lot of my constituents about this, and I myself, and I'll put myself out there that I kind of like the idea of maybe getting the amphitheater done first. I think that, would be a lot more,
Advantageous.
advantageous, from speaking to the folks in my district. I don't know if I'm wrong about the fact that they can move whatever phase we want to start with. I think we should look at, if that's true, then I think we should look at, maybe moving the phases around.
I agree with you. I would like to see that as a first phase as well. Actually, what we're doing is we're trying to leverage money, so we're going to where the grant is going to be the most competitive. We've been working with state parks, and state parks, the agency that would issue the grant, from the state, is much more supportive of a competitive application that includes a playground for kids and things like that. So if we said, let's use that money that we did in the past and try to leverage an amphitheater, our sense is that we have a much less competitive application in this round and might not get the money and therefore not be able to use that money that we're leveraging. The part of the money that we were leveraging was spent in 2019. And if we wait one more year, we won't be able to look back and use that money. So we're trying to use it now to leverage the most competitive chance we have at securing more state money to move the whole project forward. No matter what, the concession stand that's in the middle, kind of the new bathrooms and the concession stands and all of that is probably instrumental to whether you do the amphitheater first for the playground first. You still really need that one piece, so that will advance this aspect of it and really position the rest of the park for funding. You know, we're not going to stop trying to go out and secure more funding for the park. We just think that this is the most competitive application after talking to the grant representatives at the state level. And what, I mean, they basically told us, they said this would be more competitive than this. And you know, they're the ones that are reviewing the grant when it comes to their desk, so.
And if we go this route.
Yeah.
Committed or held to putting the playground in first.
No, I don't think you are. I think what you have then is you have detailed design and really sharpened up all your cost estimates. You've been able to make it say, you know, a little bit smaller of a playground or a little bit larger of a playground, but you really detailed the design. You don't have to build that first. You have the bid documents and you have the design. Designs do have a shelf life, you know, it'll cost a little bit more if you wait another year and you wait another year, but the fundamental aspects of it will still be in place. And if you're successful in going out and getting other funders and other money to do the amphitheater, you already have the design for the restrooms and the concession stands, so you could just go get the money for that. So I wouldn't say it commits you to doing the playground first. It's just, we're committing to trying to get our best shot at getting a good piece of the money to do the design now without spending any additional county money.
Anybody else have anything for this one?
You know, I'm just afraid of being pushed into this. We're gonna have to buy the whole damn lot of it or none of it at all. If it was broken down into phases, into the different stages where we had some control of what's gonna happen in the future, I would be more supportive, but right now I can't support this, any of it. Because I'm afraid it's you know, once we start down the path, we're hooked. You know, with the money saying, the way you're speaking, it's almost like, well, if you don't pass this, we're gonna lose money. You know, just, I don't like that either.
Anybody else?
I guess just one other question on this, when we did vote on that set aside investment of the stimulus funding for the Emerson Park project, it was with the hope that everything would be done, or we'd be able to do it all or nothing, essentially, for our investment, or revisit our investment. If we do it all.
Well, that still stands. If we touch that other money, it's either come back to the legislature and let us know what phase you want to do first, unless you go out and get the money to do the whole thing.
So
But this is not spending any of that money that you set aside. This is just trying to leverage money you've already
Right.
spent.
If I recall, the flavor that night of, before the vote was, we were leaning towards a different product than what was presented. And we're still trying to do that. It looks like you're trying to do that and get the best bang for our buck.
Right, I'm just
So,
trying to leverage
yeah.
as much money for whatever comes down the line that we can
I
get.
just don't want to sign a deal with the devil that doesn't represent the flavor that we had when we go. But obviously we trust in what you're doing, so we can just monitor that as we're going along. I guess that's the safest route for all of us for support.
Anybody else?
Actually, I'd like to see the whole thing approved by the legislature as a whole. In the something that I can live with, that I hope everybody can live with, rather than going at it piecemeal. The whole concept for the, you know, what was, for instance, this walkabout, I think is crazy, okay? An absolute waste of money and time. Parts of it, amphitheater, I could go along with that. And the people I've talked to the same saying, playground somewhat reduced in scope and all this and that. Yeah, I could go along with that too. You know, just, if we had a complete plan for the whole works, yes, I could vote yes on it.
Well, we did present a complete plan for the whole works, but it wasn't voted on by the legislature.
Yeah, I know.
And then the legislature approved certain capital funds saying, if you do it in phases, come back to us and we'll pick and choose,
Well,
you know, which gets done.
again, I guess I stated well enough, I think, just, you can't swallow the whole thing at once, so.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Anything else for Public Works? Mr. Peters?
Just a real quick question. Is there, Doug, has there been any lifeguard applications yet?
No,
This is a sad commentary.
it is. I will tell you that just very briefly, other municipalities have actually started recruiting and training people like in the winter for the summer season, and that may be something that we need to partner with.
At the risk of sounding like Mr. Lattimore, it's some of the best times I've had in my life. I just can't figure it out.
And it really goes across all of it, and I know Brian talked about it, I know Gary talked about it, it really goes across the board, and, you know, we're somewhere below 25% in a lot of our seasonal labor positions as far as the number of applications we receive. I'm open to suggestions.
Do you hear old guys?
Yeah.
You wouldn't look good in scale anymore.
Oh, yeah, it's all the people, not the whole.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
On that note, yes, second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Who made the motion?
Speaking of Timmy,
Where did he go?
Made his appearance. He's
Get a lifeguard anytime too.
You and Tim sitting next to each other down there.
I'm on a photo of that. I was.
Timmy, you whacked me with the whistle.
In the blue and gold.
I said,